Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and sorry for being late, but we struggle with our, mic connection. We don't know why, but we just restarted StreamYard and now it works perfectly. So welcome everybody. If you be so kind, we are on, LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live and YouTube Live. If you can, put in comments that you can hear us and see us and we can kick it off. Yeah.
Yeah. And Jan, I feel like that intro was so 2020, like the year of COVID. Everybody was like, "Can you hear me? Technical difficulties. Something's not working." It was exactly the whole year. And no
But
matter if you
you are a little bit, you are still a little bit blurred,
oh,
and and the picture is it's
a lower quality.
it's dark,
As everyone can tell, I'm traveling because you know what my lighting looks like when I'm home and when I'm traveling. Let me see if I can fix the internet connection while everyone's chatting and saying
Yeah,
hello.
it is getting cut,
Live from space. Live from space. Live from space. Let me see if I can get the Wi-Fi a little stronger here. And in the meantime, I think this might be a perfect introduction to talk about resilience, what
Yeah.
resilience is, how to bounce back from problems. But as you can see, for everyone who's there and watching, it's much better to not have a problem and then have to be resilient around it. It's much better to find ways to really be proactive so that the problems don't add up and start to become problems in the first place. Now, of course, inevitably something will happen, right? We've used computers for many years, and that there'll still be a technical challenge every once in a while. So we do have to be resilient. But today's session is about why resilience isn't the only thing. We shouldn't really be constantly focusing on how to come back and come back and come back from problems. We should really be focusing, how do we make sure we're in a good space so fewer problems come to us and fewer problems exist. So hopefully my internet connection's a little bit better. I will see about lighting. As Jan, maybe you want to kick it off a little bit and say, what are your thoughts about the topic?
Okay. The connection is okay now, but you're still getting cut a little bit, but hopefully it should be,
Better.
getting better. Yeah. Yeah, well, resilience. If you think about business and sport, resilience is necessary, but not sufficient today. Because if you wanted to get resilient and stay resilient, it gets much more, and that's how we work with our energy, right? And people today still manage a lot time, but the only thing you can manage is your energy in the time or during the time, right? And in all Greece they called, like, time chronos, and being in the present moment they called kairos. So there was like chronological time, and be in the moment, be here and now, it was called kairos. So they were already aware that if you are in the present moment, you pay attention, you are focused, your performance is much better, right? But in old Greece they did not have social networks and other tools we have. Those are great tools, don't take me wrong, but unfortunately they are very often killing our focus. And it doesn't matter whether it's sport or business, right? So we should talk about how to use our energy, but also how to renew our energy. If we talk about old Greece, they were talking about four energies. They call it kalokagatia, and those energies were like physical energy. It's pretty much your body, the way you move, you exercise, you eat, you sleep, right? Then emotional energy, and emotion is basically bridge between your thoughts and your body, because you can feel immediately whatever is your thoughts, whether it's positive thought or negative thought, you can feel it immediately on your body. So emotions are key in resilience and in performance. That's the second energy. The third energy is mental energy. That's our ability to get high cognitive performance, to think clearly, and to be focused, to be in the present moment. And that's very tough. But when we were kids, up to 7 years of age, we were 70% of the time in the present moment. So we were focused, absolutely. That's the way we were learning. But unfortunately then, we've got distracted by several uh, because of the several reasons, and because of the several people, including sometimes parents, and and then it was gone. This is the reason why kids are learning so fast when they are young, because nobody is really saying, hey, you should not do that, you should not do that. They are just learning through their strengths and through their talents, right? And the last energy is spiritual energy, which means that in spirit, in Latin, means in your soul, in fact, right? And it is about meaning in your life. And spiritual energy is a great source of the energy. And if you do something which is very meaningful to you, chances are that you will be focused. You will be very often in the flow. So if your spiritual energy is high, your mental energy is high. If your mental energy is high, chances are that you have positive thoughts and positive emotions. And if you have positive emotions, then some positive hormones are expressed, like endorphin, dopamine, or social hormones like serotonin, oxytocin. And it has a lot of positive influence on your body because it's improving your immunity. So that's pretty much how those energies are working. I'm very often asked, hey, if you have like meaning, if you do something you like, is it enough? Not. In my career, I was doing job I love, or jobs I love, and I was very often in the flow, but I did not have enough mental rest, and that's why I ended up in the mental hospital. And there are many people like that. Now, for example, I spent like 10 days at French Open and 12 days at Wimbledon. And there are many tennis players now, they are going out talking about their mental problems. It's a very, I mean, to be top player, it's a very tough job. And it's the same if you are a top executive, it's the same thing, right? You have your team, but at the end of the day, it's about you, your performance, your energy, and your rest. So that's kind of the kickoff from my side.
Yeah, and I think what's really important to share, and hopefully my internet's a little
Now
better.
it's better. I think
Okay, I played
StreamYard is
something.
really like tuning, and it's much better right now.
Good, good, good. So, what's really important here, as we talk about mental rest, is that so often in the modern world, no matter what your job is, you're on a computer, you're taught to think with your brain, we focus on education. And what that means, and I coach so many executives, and I say, okay, what are you feeling in your body? Now, athletes can answer that question. Talk to a dancer, they know their body, they know a muscle, they know what's not working.
Absolutely.
Talk to someone who's been told be purely intellectual, go get a PhD, and then talk to someone how their body feels. And most of the time, they have learned not how to tune in and get an understanding of what's
Yeah.
happening, but they've actually learned to cut it off and ignore it. So, for any of you who do intermittent fasting, obviously at some point your body would send you a hunger signal and you'd say, no, mind override, I'm going to do this fasting thing. And so, over time, you learn when the body sends up pain, discomfort, you learned mental strength. I push it right on down, I ignore it to the point where most of the time you don't even feel it, you don't even notice it, you don't even know what's down there. And so allowing yourself mental rest is almost impossible because your mind is so used to saying, but I need to be the one in control. I'm the night guard. I'm the one who's watching everything. I wouldn't dare let my body rest. So even when you're sleeping, even when you're taking a break from work, your mind is still going. And that's where the lack of mental rest is getting in the way because we really never shut down and allow it to just be in an off state and allow the whole body system to recover. That's why today we're talking about recovery and why it helps leadership. Because guess what happens if a machine runs 24/7? You get it. At some point, it's worn down, it's not working as sharply, right? And that's what the brain is. So, if for many of us we say, oh, but the brain is so important because we need it for our work and our planning and our success and our performance, then why are you overrunning it? We need to give it a break. And what most people do to take a break, and you can let us know in the chat if this is you, most people say, I'm going to find me time. And that includes I'll watch YouTube, I'll watch TikTok videos, I'll watch Netflix, I'll drink a beer. You're still consuming, you're still doing something to keep yourself in a nervous state. You're not actually doing things that help your brain to shut off and to calm down. And so one of the easiest things you can do, I love to give this advice because I like to give counterintuitive advice because so many things we talk about in the modern world for productivity and success and leadership, it's how do I do more? How do I do more? How do I do more? And Jan and I want you to do maybe a little bit less. So I always tell people when you really want to shut your brain down, just sit down, eyes closed. You're not meditating or anything. You don't have to think of anything special, but turn on classical music because so many people sit and the brain is going, going, going. And then you think to yourself, I want the brain to not go. Oh, why is the brain still going? I'm doing this thing wrong. And you're just over and over in your brain. When you turn on classical music, it keeps your brain enough busy that it can start to come down on its own. And obviously, the tones and the pitches and the way that classical music or jazz or piano, whatever you prefer, it starts to calm your nervous system for you. And this is what's so important. So much of the time, we're used to brain saying, here's how I recover, here's how I will take my break, here's how I will plan everything. But we really want to shut the brain off to get mental rest. So do things like listening to music. The music will automatically shut you down without your brain having to be in control. So this is just one example of things you can do. It looks like we have a comment here.
I think we can, comment now. I don't think we need to have a special session on kind of the basic routines. I mean, we can
Yeah,
speak probably from top of our heads, So why,
yeah,
why don't
yeah.
you start about your, routines,
Yes. So when I
daily
wake up,
routines?
it's super important. I'll go through some of it. I won't go through all of it all at once or you'll
Okay.
be bored. But the very first thing I do when I wake up is as I'm starting to wake up, I make sure that I notice my breathing. And sometimes I have, maybe a bad dream or maybe I was stressed that night. So I wake up maybe in a little bit of an alert state. And right from the moment I wake up, I immediately start to do some breathing to make sure that I'm entering the day calm. Maybe if I set an alarm, I'll turn the alarm off, but I won't then immediately check my emails or do anything. I sleep with my phone in airplane mode. So when I turn off my alarm, I don't see any alerts that came in. I don't see any information. And then I just make sure that when I wake up, it's a slow wake up for me. I don't want to wake up with a cortisol stress shot. I got to do this. I got to run here. I make sure I have 10 minutes in sort of the calendar. And then I go, for me, I still have young kids, 11 and 9. So I go upstairs to wake them up and we have our first cuddle session. And it's very important. I say that not because I'm like, oh, how cute it is to, be a mom and to cuddle, but physically, all humans need physical touch in order to stay a feeling of connected and a
It's
feeling
about
of calm.
oxytocin. Yeah.
It's the oxytocin. So not
Yeah.
only am I being cute and wonderful and loving as a mom, but I'm making sure that my morning is completely grounded. So I've grounded myself and my body in calm. And now I'm really connecting and making sure that I have that. So by the time we go down, we eat breakfast, right? And after the kids are out of the house, then I'll turn on my phone, I'll check and I'll start getting ready. But everything in the morning is about living in the moment, as Jan said. I'm not like, oh, I have to do this thing, and what do I do? And have I forgotten this? And I make sure the night before that I've done everything that would be urgent so that I can have my slow mornings. I do always eat breakfast. I never drink coffee. And I make sure that I see sunshine. So if I can, we'll open the front doors. Sometimes we eat outside in the summer. If we can't because it's winter, I bring out a sun lamp and I make sure every morning when we first wake up, we have some form of natural light that helps the melatonin cycle. Body says awake so that later on in the day, it knows sleep. And this for me is the most important thing. And I just want to add at the bedtime routine, I really make sure that I've done anything that would feel urgent before I go to bed. And sometimes I'll stay up late to do that. But for me, it's most important that when I wake up, it's not in a stressful, behind, rushed state. It's in that grounded state so that from there, I can tackle my most important things. And I always have one, two, three of the most important things I need to do for the day. And that's where I'll start because your brain, your energy is most fresh in the morning. And then I do my hardest things or my least comfortable things. Sometimes it's not hard, but I have to make a phone call that I'm kind of avoiding or things like that. And so that's how my morning is. And then, like I said, at night, I make sure everything that's the most important or the most stressful for me is done. My bedtime routine requires some breathing to make sure that I'm calm so that when I fall asleep, I'm not falling asleep because I'm exhausted, but still energized and stressed. I make sure that I fall asleep from a place of the body feels safe enough to truly shut down. Anything more you want, I'm happy to answer. Yeah, and are you somewhat similar? I mean,
Yeah, well, what I would add, I what I try to do, because I sport every day, like I walk, I do like Nordic walking or I run. And so I do like sun exposure. If there's a sunlight, like, today there's a sunlight now, in the morning was not sunlight. So usually like 10-15 minutes on, sun. If it's like cloudy, it's more like 20-25 minutes, but it's by definition because I'm outside. But I think it's important because it's setting up your metabolic system, and it's very good for your focus during the day to have enough light in the morning, especially if you are in the different time zones. It's great. It regulates your circadian rhythm and boost like cortisol in the morning, which is good in the morning because it's about being
you get to wake up.
wakeful, right? If you will, right? Then hydration before the sport. So I do like half liter like electrolytes or some, salty water like the seawater or whatever, right? Then I move really like for 1.5 hour, I do like caffeine probably like 90-120 minutes after waking up. I'm not drinking, interestingly enough, I'm not drinking real coffee. I drink green coffee, which is not, it is like pure coffee. It's not going through it's not processed, basically, right? This is it. Because I was drinking always green tea, but now somebody told me about green coffee. So that's what I do. And I do like, screens, probably 8:30, 9 o'clock. Sometimes I'm like setting up my Instagram to put posts like 8 a.m., whatever. But this is it, okay? So I try to keep like eating, which what we call intermittent fasting. It's between 12 to 14 hours. I think the average is like 13 hours. Probably I do like my last meal in the evening at 7, and at 8 I have a breakfast in the morning. So it's like 13, hours. Okay. Then what I try to do, if I work, I try to do, they call it like deep work. So usually I do have some coaching or some speeches, or I do like learning if I'm at home. So it's like, it's rather like 90 minutes, and then I have like 20 minutes, some break, right? I forgot also, in the morning I do very cold shower for 90 seconds, 2 minutes, which is good for the blood and the blood pressure and so on. So some routines, kind of the recovery in the afternoon. I do non-sleep deep rest. You can get it on YouTube. Huberman did a couple of those, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Is pretty good. Or yoga nidra. It's the same thing. What NSDR does, it's like, you are not sleeping, but you are in the deep rest, non-sleep deep rest. So number one, you are really, in a deep rest. So you're getting, more energy. Number two, what they figured out during the NSDR, new synapses are created. We thought like a couple of years ago that only during the deep sleep, whatever you learn, it's captured in your brain during the deep sleep. It's not totally true, because what they figure out in neuroscience, that even NSDR, you are getting some neuroplasticity, some new synapses created. So what I do with athletes, for example, after the training or after the match or after the race, they do NSDR because it's a good like for the remembering things, right? So that's what I do. I do, obviously, whatever you talk about breathing, I do one strategic exercise, which is, box breathing, 4-4-4. Inhale 4-4, keep or hold 4-4, exhale 4-4, hold up 4-4, like 2-3 minutes. And then some tactical breathing. If I wanted to get more energy, I do longer inhale and short exhale, like this. So it's getting, cortisol up, and you're getting, a little bit more energy. If you want to cool down, it's the other way around. Like long exhale, right? It's just, you play with your diaphragm, basically. If you go for inhale, your diaphragm goes down, and your, heart can beat, more, basically, right? And the other way around. That's why if your, heart rate goes up, you have like more energy, you are more alert, and the other way around. Evening routines, from 6 o'clock on, I have all screens. I use blue light filter or blue light, glasses, because, as you probably know, blue light is like cutting your melatonin, because if it's getting dark, melatonin is released. It's like, the hormone, very important for deep sleep. And if you get like blue light, your brain thinks, hey, it's like noon, right? It's not, in fact, evening, and it's like cutting melatonin. So it's always good to have those, blue light blockers, whether those are filters or the glasses. I do a lot of, supplements like magnesium. I do very regularly AG1, which is like 60 minerals and vitamins. It is a very good, like, all supplements together. And, I try to sleep minimum for 7 hours. Like, my probably the best, sleep is 7.5, 8. I don't need 8 hours, but 7.5. If I sleep less than 6 hours, I don't feel totally recharged. So that's from my side what I do, some routines, during the day. And I think it is important to be like consistent. You don't need to do, many routines, but be consistent, because consistency is like creating, the habits, and it's creating changes, whether it's your body or your brain.
And I think what happens with these people hear these routines, right? Lots of, celebrities and professionals share their routines. You read them, you say, that's great, I would love to do it. And then the reality of what's ever going on in your life makes it really difficult. It's like, hey, I don't have time to work out for an hour and a half before I have to go to work. Or, hey, I would love to be off a screen in the evening, but I need to catch up on, emails because I was in meetings all day. So what I would say is, don't feel it has to be a crazy routine or, oh, I can't do anything. As Jan said, try to put even just the smallest things in place. And I always tell people, a perfect example with a box breath, anytime you have 30 seconds, a minute, you're waiting in line, you're commuting, you're going to the bathroom, but anytime you have an extra 30 seconds where you're going to grab your phone and go on TikTok or Instagram or whatever it is, instead, don't touch that and just do a couple of box breaths. Even if you have time for 1, 2, it doesn't matter. You don't need a practice of box breaths. You don't need 20 minutes. You don't need to meditate 3 times a week. As much as you can, just put these in. So literally anytime I have a free moment, I say, now is a great moment to do a box breath. Because often I'm holding my stress. I don't even know I'm holding it. It just feels normal until I do my box breath, and I'm like, oh, my shoulders just came down half an inch. Like, my jaw was really clenched. Because it's not that you wait until you're stressed or you wait until you do it regularly as a maintenance. Remember, recovery is reactive. I notice I'm stressed, I do a breath. Fine, that's good. Even better is before you ever get to the level where you're clenched and stressed and that, you're doing your breathing, so you always stay a little bit calmer, a little bit more attentive from the smart parts of your brain. Remember, the more stress that you have, the more tired, the more overwhelmed, the more decisions you're making, the more fears you have. I'm going to mess this up. What are they going to say? Who's going to fire me next week? The more fears you have here, the less you have access to the smart part of your brain. And we all know to be successful, it can't come out of the fear space. It has to come from your smartest parts. And that's why everything Jan and I have discussed, it's all about working with the biology of the brain and the body to maximize it. Notice we didn't
Yeah.
just say, here's what you think. We said, here's what your body needs to be able to perform. Because we're very body focused to get the brain performing at its best.
Now, let me talk a little bit about what I call red and green organizations. How those
Yeah.
energies and the leadership, is influencing what kind of organization you build. Okay, imagine that you have organization where people are using their talents. They are really happy. There is a lot of teamwork, and it is a good environment. It is a great culture. Chances are that people really like what they do. There is a good team, so there's a lot of serotonin, there's a lot of endorphin because they are very often in the flow. There's a lot of dopamine because they are achieving, and they are progressing. There is a growth mindset probably. So chances are that a lot of positive hormones are created. So people are not only performing well, they, in all in I think they are also happier, if you will,
Yes.
but they are also healthier. So you really build like green organization when things are going well. On the other hand, you can create organization where you are like managing by fear, as Lisa mentioned. There's a lot of stress, whether I will be fired, whether I will beat, my quota or not, in sales organization and stuff like that. And there's a lot of toxic relationships. And then a lot of cortisol is released. And cortisol is okay, provided that it goes like up and down, like because our predecessors, they were like hunting, having a rest, hunting, having a rest. Okay. We are like hunting, hunting, hunting. Cortisol is killing if the stress is chronic. Cortisol is okay if stress is, like, up and down, acute. And if you have enough, like whatever, what Nietzsche was saying, what is not killing you is strengthening you. Well, there's even, song, what doesn't kill you make you stronger. So this is it. So you create red organizations, and there are many of those, right? So uh, I don't have a number of those organizations, but we know from Gallup that only 33% of the people in the world, they feel that they are like fulfilled and they are doing what they are self-actualized. They do what they like. In the US, it's a little bit higher number. It is. Sorry, it's 23% worldwide, 33% in the US, but only 13% in Europe. So the average is 23%. So US is a little bit, US is a little bit better, right, than Europe. And I think it's also culture and so on. So this is it. And I think leaders are creating those organizations by, behavior and driving those, behaviors. And if the organization is based only on performance and not on performance and recovery, then chances are that there'll be a lot of people like depressed and having mental issues and so on, including maybe leaders of those organizations.
Yeah, that's why they come for coaching with us.
Right.
And here's the thing, right? Like so many people say, yeah, but stress is work is stressful, Lisa. Like, what can we do? Like, Jan, sounds great. We'd love to do everything you just said, but that's not the reality of the work that I'm in. Like, or I'm not a leader, so I don't have control over what the culture is like. Well, guess what? There are ways that you can, even in the face of pressure, you don't have to code that as stress and scary and danger. You can also code that as one way, as Jan said, make it exciting. Make it what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. It gets me excited. It makes me see what's possible. I get to my fullest potential because I climb a mountain that's higher than I ever thought I would. It can
Absolutely.
it can also be that you have some fun, right? People who go through the hardest times together really bond. These can be your best friends. I work with a lot of early consultants, and it's their first jobs. They're in their 20s and they're working 13, 14, 15, 16 hours a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week. And it's painful. But if you're having fun with your colleagues while you're doing the painful work, so I will often tell people, and this sounds very strange. Again, I like to come with you know the stuff you should breathe and sleep but what you
Right.
might not know is you should bring humor. You should laugh. So anytime something gets really stressful, I taught my brain to say, okay, what's a joke you can make here to relieve the tension? How do we make this a funny situation? How do we just like have some joy and fun? Because we're going to face something hard regardless. We don't have to make it harder with our attitudes, right? And to find joy no matter what's going on, to find humor, to find connection with other people, this is what helps to remove the feelings of pressure being hard, the feelings of it being a stressful situation. And I even give you a really basic example. So humor, by the way, anyone can be funny. A lot of people are like, but I'm not funny, or certain cultures are just not known
Right.
to be funny cultures, right? But humor is a very particular science, just like anything else, right? Comedians learn a set of rules about how humor works. There's a book by a couple of Stanford professors called Humor Seriously, and they talk about how to have the right kinds of humor at the workplace. So definitely worth watching their TED Talk, if not reading the book. The book is actually an easy read. Sometimes Yana and I tell you books that are maybe sometimes hard to get through. This one's funny, obviously, so it's really delightful to read. And they literally tell you how to be funny, what's the structure of a joke, when to come in. So it's all learnable. So don't feel like, well, I'm not a funny person, so I'm going to put that off. Or, hey, we're at work, we have to be serious, right? It's not saying you have to be like a jokester, but there are
Yeah.
ways to lighten the mood. And if you're the person who can bring humor, can make it a little fun, can lighten the mood, guess what? People want to be around you. People remember you. People want to be on your teams. They want to be on projects with you. They want to promote you because they'll enjoy being with you. Their brain remembers and like being with that person. And sometimes the best way you can be a good leader to your team or be a good team member to make leadership be a little bit more relaxed is to be the person who infuses some humor, some light energy, some joy in. The other thing I would add is, speaking of joy, I recently was talking to someone who said, I don't get enough sleep and I can't because variety of reasons, but at night I have to clean my house. I don't want to wake up to a mess in the morning. I have to clean my house. It's very stressful for me if not. So I need to spend time in the evening and then it gets late and I'm stressed and I've thought about it. And I said, hold on. What if cleaning was your moment of joy and you put on like the best dance music that you know of and you're kind of
Hmm.
dancing around while you're cleaning? So your body, by the way, when it dances, feels really free, gets loose all that extra cortisol that Jan was saying you might be holding on to. This is why so many native cultures, if you look back across the world, across native cultures, there were always dances and chants,
Oh,
and there was
absolutely.
always things because they knew that naturally that was helpful to the body. And you don't have to be good at dancing. It doesn't have to be a salsa. You just kind of move your body around. You put on some fun music, and as you're cleaning, you're kind of dancing, you're singing, you're having your fun. And before you know it, you've cleaned your house, you've gotten rid of your stress, you've shaken extra stress free, and you're feeling good before you go to bed. For me, it's the most important. So many people think, oh, if I want to be successful and really get performance, I need to control it. I need to get the right supplements. I need to go to bed at the right time. I need to be strict about my. And sometimes it's that letting go energy of relax, joy, have fun, call a friend while you're cleaning, have cleaning time with your friend where you both FaceTime each other and you have a contest who cleans faster. Like, make it interesting. Don't make hard things feel hard. Yes, you have to do it. I'm sorry. Not all of us are privileged to have cleaning teams who work 24/7, but make sure that you make joy in your life. If you don't have those positive energy recoveries, you don't have joy, you don't have fun with the simple things, that's when stress comes. And that's when you hold stress far too long. Oh, I
Yeah.
guess I hear the Czech Republic has been voted a country with the best humor in the world.
I don't, I don't know who made the vote, but it is. I think it's that's. I like Czech, humor because we can make fun out of everything. Unfortunately, I don't think we are good to make fun of ourselves because I think it's also important to make fun of yourself. Anyway, yesterday at the call with the Harvard Coaching Institute, we talk about playfulness. Right?
Yeah,
The way
exactly.
basically what you talk about. And I remember one thing which I did when I started to do my international jobs when I was in Munich. Every year we did for 3 days. I call it family Olympic Games. Pretty much like,
Yeah.
all employees get, all families. and we were like competing in a different, in some crazy, competitions, like like jumping in some strange, way, whatever, right? Because all like Microsoft people were highly competitive. Their spouses, also kids, those are the genes. They were also so, and it was a lot of fun. Plus, people learn about each another, out of the job, out of the office, which I think it's very good. I don't like if some companies are doing offsites, like in a cheap way. We do it, in office or semi, office environment. It doesn't need to be that expensive, but go to the nature and do something very crazy, right? That's the way how you build, strengths of the team, basically. Yeah.
I agree. And just finding those joyful moments at offsites during the, and by the way, with your family. So, for example, I don't know, for those of you in Central Europe, maybe you've seen lots of rain that's happening, thunderstorms. I remember a few months ago, when we were traveling in Asia, we were caught in a huge rainstorm while we were walking back from a restaurant. And my husband and I, we were just like drenched to the bones, or we're soaking wet. And our kids were swimming in the swimming pool. And so we just said, "Hey, we're already wet." So we teased them and we jumped in with our clothes
Yeah.
on. And they said, "What? You can't jump in with your clothes on." They thought it was so funny, right? And it's just one of those moments. It was like, why not? If we were in the rain anyway, we might as well have some fun in the rain. We were kind of dancing and singing. And then we jumped into the pool. And we could have been grumpy. "Oh, I'm wet. It's cold. I don't like it," right? It's very easy to be negative about it. But it's actually just as easy to just laugh and have some fun about it and create really fun memories from those moments. And too many of us are taught take things seriously, be efficient, make sure things get done the right way. And when they don't, that's something to be upset about. That's something to be stressed about. That's something that is inconvenient for us. And we really have to learn to embrace and enjoy and have fun. And I think the British own the self-deprecating humor where they make fun of themselves. They're probably the best at it in the world. And it's like, do that, right? If you trip, if you make a mistake, if you mess up a presentation, make a joke about yourself. Let it be fun. Don't take it so seriously.
Yeah.
And so many people think, but in work, I have to be serious. And it's really just, I'm not saying you have to act like a child, but allow your humanity to come through. We're in an area where vulnerability exists. And vulnerability doesn't only mean I need to be sad or I need to be depressed or I need to share something very secretive and personal. Vulnerability can also be just sharing your humor, sharing, the funny, goofy side of you, just sharing more of a human side than the robot who comes to work and then goes home and has a life outside.
Absolutely. So
I think,
maybe you can put in the comments, guys, some routines you do, right, every
yeah,
day. Like what is helping you, or what do you do? Some, funny stuff with your teams, in your jobs, right? Whether it's in office or outside of the office. It's always good to learn from each other,
exactly. And one of the other routines, I mean, I didn't go into every routine that I do because it would be a long list.
Sure.
Um, but one thing that I do on a weekly basis, not a daily basis, but on a weekly basis, I do what Elizabeth Gilbert does, which is write yourself a letter from love. So many of us, we have the fear voice in our head that says, not good enough, not smart enough, not fast
Yeah.
enough, didn't do this right, messed this up, right? And so, of course, we have to listen to some of those voices because we want to hear it for performance improvement. Okay, what could I do better? Now, what can I learn from that, et cetera, et cetera. But I also just want a voice who says, "You're perfect. Love you just the way you are. You made a mistake. Cool. We all make mistakes. Humanity makes mistakes." Like, I really want a compassionate hug. Okay. And I want to make sure that I don't have to just get that from other people who love me. I want to treat myself that way, just like I would treat my friends, right? I want to make sure that I have a connection to that inner voice inside of me. So Elizabeth Gilbert calls it the voice of unconditional love. But I
Yeah.
just say it's like that nice, compassionate, motherly type of voice for yourself, where you say, "You're great the way you are. I love you no matter what." Okay, you were really stressed and you were binge eating a couple of cookies. That's a very American thing to do. No problem. You needed to take care of yourself. That was the care you gave yourself at the time. Don't feel bad about it. You'll be right back to your healthy eating again later. No problem. So it's like that permission, that self permission, the self love, that no matter what you did, you're okay. Some people have this in religion. If you are someone who prays, that's great. That's the same concept. But I think most people today have become a little bit less religious, a little bit more secular, a little bit away. And we're really missing out when we don't have some form of spirituality where we were connected and had that unconditional love, that we need to create that somewhere. So I make sure to be in tune with that voice. I would highly recommend, although it sounds strange, I would highly recommend learning how to listen to that voice inside your head as well, and not just the one that says bad, no, wrong, stop, could have been better, could have done this, not as good as someone else, etc. Like, don't make that the only voice in your head.
One technique which I do now, especially with young athletes, because there's a lot of fixed mindset in among young people now, and I tell you why. Because they are comparing themselves with the others too much, right? It is, in sport, it's also different activities. So that's number one. It's also very often pushed by the coaches and parents, saying like, your counterparts are better there, whatever. So we are comparing all the time, right? And it's good to judge yourself, but not during the competition. If you start to judge yourself during the competition, the match or race, done. You are not anymore in the present moment. You are not focused. And they are comparing themselves with other people from the social network. So it's really what I realized, that there is a lot of, fixed mindset. And I call it mental oscillation. You like Eddie, when I was at Wimbledon, you do like couple of top balls, so your dopamine goes like that, right? And then there is a bad ball, and it goes absolutely down. And if your dopamine goes down, even like baseline goes down, you are losing your focus. That's the way you are losing another 5 balls. So it's better if it's going a little bit up and back, a little bit up and back. This is it. You play some balls. This is the growth mindset, because growth mindset is not about up and down. Growth mindset is like, this is your baseline of dopamine, and you go up. Yeah, right. You win or you learn something new, but you still go up, because dopamine is about progress. It's reward hormone, but it's also motivational hormone. So this is it. So routine, what we started to do with some players, they are putting like all negative comments, like I can't play on the grass, I can't play volleys very well, whatever. And then they need to reframe it. I'm telling them, this is your monkey, this is your amygdala, because you play well, on grass, right? So you won some matches. So it's just, amygdala, which cannot distinguish what is true and not. Put like all amygdala stuff, that's the amygdala column, and there is a professor column, neocortex column, right? So you are losing the ball. You can say, yeah, it was not idle. Next time I need to play it like that, right? So reframe it, and it's really helping, and because when they are cooled down, they can reframe it easily, and then they will be able to reframe it even under the pressure. They need to start, because you need to start to train your brain, even like out of your job or out of the tennis court, whatever. Because you have one brain. Your brain does not distinguish whether you are in the school or a tennis court or the opera, whether you are opera singer or whatever. This is it. A lot of people when I started to work with athletes, and I've got, many medals, and I've got like 7, Olympic medals, among them, Olympic Games winner. I last 2 Olympic Games. Now, 10 years ago, when I started to work with athletes, a lot of coaches were saying, Jan, it's not going to work because you are from the business. You have no clue about the sport. But I'm not teaching them ice hockey or, soccer or whatever. I'm teaching them the brain. And the brain is the same in the business, in the sport, in the art, right? It's the same. You are like, in sport, you have like your mental toughness can be, less than 1, then you are training type. During the training, performance is very good, but during the match, during the time when you are under the pressure, it's not good. So it's less than 1, so we call it training type. You have a training type also in the business. On 101 or 1 to few, you present very well. Once there are, bigger audience, you are not able to present, you have a lot of, pressure or whatever. But you can be trained. right? So that's one. If your mental toughness is 1, that means that you perform very well under the mental toughness. You perform the same way as during the preparation. And if your mental toughness is bigger than 1, then you are in the zone and you are using your myelins. Those are like, imagine your synapse like cable, and myelin is like taping the cable all around. Every time you repeat that activity, you are taping it more and more. And the myelin enables 3 things: that activity can be done faster, it can be more accurate, and it can be done under the huge mental pressure, right? So this is like Michael Jordan was mental toughness more than 1, simply. So he was playing even under the pressure, he was playing even better than during the training, if you will. So this is it, but it's learnable, right? What I'm saying, you need to learn every time. You take all opportunities. Some tennis players think, or some athletes, if I will do like half an hour with Jan, once per month, I will be mentally tough. Forget it. I can give you, like, I'm your teacher, I'm giving you Chinese menu. You need to pick up, eat it, chew it, right, and grow from it. This is it.
Yes, that's exactly right. And oftentimes people ask, okay, but how do I build it? Because we say it's all learnable, it's all buildable. How do I do that? And I would say, I think my internet might be cutting out, so I apologize. I hope it comes through. I would say improv is the best thing that I can
Mm.
tell people to do.
Yeah.
And they say, what? I'm not an actor. I don't want to be on the stage. I don't care about this stuff. But improv allows you to play where it feels dangerous because you're in front of people. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't control it because you're working with other people. But at the same time, you get into the pattern where you go, I don't know what's next, but I know enough to relax and allow sort of that muscle memory to come in. And you have to be able to let go in improv because you can't control it, because you don't know what's coming next and it's never planned and it always goes differently. And once you can learn these agility skill sets where you can learn how do you build core muscle memories, so you have some tools, right?
Right.
In improv they say yes and. So you never say like, hey, do you want to go to the beach? No. Well, that doesn't work because the scene doesn't move forward. So you say yes, and we should bring our inflatable shark with us, right? So you always have certain tools to move you forward. But in there, you have a lot of creativity. And once you get past the fear of, am I right? Am I perfect?
Mm.
Am I that? You really can have some fun. And that's where some playfulness can come out, some trust in yourself can come out. And that's where you realize the exact same thing happens in sport. You don't know where your opponent's going to hit the tennis ball, but you have to be able to move and sort of be wherever you need to be.
Right.
You don't know what's going to happen in the meeting, what question you're going to be asked, but you need to be able to be in a flow state to answer that without feeling pressure and stress and I don't know. And so improv is a really good way for people to build it. And of course, you can just take local lessons wherever you are. It's not, again, meant for you to then go on stage and become a comedian, but you want to have these practices in place, these playfulness practices, these ways of letting go in order to let out your natural talents are super helpful for giving you energy, having some fun, giving you recovery, and making sure you don't get to those pressure points that Jan said. You can't be there all the time. You can have a little pressure. Someone's going to ask you some questions, but then you know how to handle it and the pressure goes down. And that's what we want to see.
Look,
We
mental
did have a
toughness.
comment here.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, mental toughness is about 3 things, and you can influence it. To walk like a lion all the time, to be like that, all the time, stay straight, because then your, cortisol goes down, your testosterone goes up, and your ability to perform goes up. Because you are giving signal. Brain and body are connected, okay? And if the body keeps like that, that's the signal for the brain. All is fine, all is good. So listen, if Djokovic is losing even 6-0, I remember it was French Open 2021, first set, Nadal won 6-0, then he won the whole match. But Djokovic was still walking like a lion. So the posture or the body is first thing. you can still breathe like a winner, like breathe in, breathe out. You can control breathing and you can control your mind. Because if you have some shitty thoughts, you can ask following questions. Is it logical? Do I have any proof that it is like that? And is it serving me right now? If the answer is no, it's a bullshit. It's not, reality. It's not the fact, because a lot of thoughts are just the thought. Thought is not fact, easy as it is. Majority of the people think if you have some thought, it's a fact, and it's not. Some thoughts. I mean, neuroscientists are saying 60 to 70% of thoughts are negative thoughts. Some are, true, but very little. Right? Majority of them, it's the outcome of amygdala. If you will do cognitive CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, they will, the philosophies around those three questions. Is it rational? Do I have any proof? And is it serving me now? So this is it. And if you will do it like that, I think repetition, consistency is, beating everything, including talent, by the way, because your whatever your skill, whatever is the skill, it can be football, it can soccer, you call it US soccer. I don't know why you have American football.
I don't
So
know.
it can be your leadership skills, whatever. Skill equals talent, but talent is constant, more or less. Those are the genes. Multiply by your efforts. Your efforts, that's in your hands. Michael Jordan was throwing the ball 90 minutes more every day than the rest. And it's like compounded interest in the finance. Think about that, what it does in 1 year, what it does in 10 years, right? In myelinization of your brain, if you will. And this is it. That's it. It is in your hands. Brain, guys, it's neuroplastic. Whatever is your brain right now, you can change. That's what we know already.
Yeah, and super important, I want to say, as we're starting to wrap up
Yeah.
today,
Yep.
the way you live your day. So however you were today or however you are tomorrow, the way you live your day is the way you live your life. Because one day, and all of a sudden you're 90 years old. So don't ever say, oh, I can't. Of course you can. Start a change now. Start a different bedtime routine tonight and don't make it hard and a big deal. Try a couple of box breaths. And all of a sudden, if you do that every night, then that's you. You're one step closer to living that recovery lifestyle. Then, the next day, do one more thing. In a week or in a month, do one more thing. Don't make things hard, because when your brain sees something hard coming, it says, protect. I don't have the energy. I don't want the stress. It's new. It's going to come up with a lot of defensive mechanisms. Don't give it that chance. Really just allow in the joy, allow in a breath. Say, oh, brain, it's no big deal. I'm just going to do one set of breathing. No problem, right? And make it feel easy. And slowly but surely, you will start to see, if you just do breathing for 1 minute before bed, nothing else. 1 minute, like Jan said, do a box breath for 1 minute. Your sleep level will go deeper. You will have a better quality of sleep. Your body will feel the difference. Sometimes you'll go, I did a minute of breathing. I feel exactly the same. Just because you feel exactly the same doesn't mean your body hasn't changed. And if you don't believe me, set yourself up with a pulse oximeter or a blood pressure cuff or something where you can
Exactly.
see your
Even
body
the
changes.
even the ring,
The
aura
aura
ring will
ring or the
measure
watch.
you. Basic, it is a basic stuff, but it's good. It's measure your heart rate variability and the deep sleep and the REM sleep and all important parameters.
Exactly. So don't let your brain say, I don't like this. I don't want this. I don't have time for this. This won't work. Don't let your brain talk you out of what we know from the science will work. If your brain says, I don't, I can't, I don't want to, I'm not interested, I don't have time, and that tells me fear is talking. And what I would say is override the fear, do it anyway. And you will be
Absolutely.
amazed when you come back to see us at the next session. You'll be amazed at how different you'll feel just from following these very basic things that we've talked about.
And aura, of course, aura ring is good. It's from Finland. They should do better job with the battery, by the way, because I have a relatively new aura ring. It's less than 1 year, and I need to recharge like every 2 days. It should be like they are guaranteeing 4 days, and I already replaced one aura ring. So I think this is something for, improvement, if you will. Okay, guys,
We'll let
thanks
them
very
rest.
much. We are over, 9 o'clock, and see you
Thanks,
soon. Bye.
everyone.
Thank
Take care.
you.